Mr. Rysewyk, thank you for being with us today.
Well, thanks for coming. Appreciate you being here.
Are you ready for the new school year?
We are. This is always an exciting time of the year. I think, very few business and organizations you get a chance to kind of have that fresh start every year. And I think the whole community feels that when they bring their kids back and they go back to school shopping and teachers come back in well rested, ready to go. And it's always just an exciting time in the community.
What is your message to families here in Knox County that you serve?
We're really this year focused on intentionality, and we're really focused on, we've been asking the question for the last couple of years of, everyone's working hard, but are we doing the right work? And for us, that really means, are we doing everything every day on all the little decisions to make sure that we're advancing students, that they're making academic progress, that they're prepared for the future? We really take that seriously as an organization. We kind of spent time 2 years ago, what are we uniquely positioned to do in the community? And the school system really does prepare the next generation. We're kind of the only organization that wakes up every day thinking about that. And so, we tried to boil it down to that point for us. So that's what we think is we're going to be intentional in our actions. We have been for the last 2 years, starting to see some good data from that, and keep doing that and stay focused and disciplined and don't be distracted.
You've made some moves regarding teachers. You still have a bunch of vacancies, 160, but that's less than you had last year. Yeah. Why the teacher shortage? What are you doing to try to mitigate that and get good teachers?
We actually have seen this year a big turnaround in that, which is kind of opposite the trend. Talking to our human resource department yesterday, we're down to 11 actually certified teacher spots, and seven special ed teacher spots. So we were closer to those numbers last year, closer to 100 coming in to the year. I really credit that to two things. One, 2 years ago, we launched a talent acquisition team as part of our department out of our human resource department, that their sole purpose was streamlining our processes. We understood, looking at the national trends, that there wasn't enough students graduating from teacher programs, that if we kind of locked down all of East Tennessee, of all the colleges and universities, it wouldn't be enough. So we started looking for alternative pathways. Job embedded, where people come from another industry, come in and we provide the support to get them licensed. Recruitment from other districts, so recruitment and retainment became really important. And then we've continued to put our money into that. For the last couple of years, we've continued to give raises. This year was a historic moment for the board and what they did last year. A $40 million investment in salaries. We had a third party come in and take a year to really do market value for all of our positions, not just our teachers, because we understood that was a big strain on what was going on in the classroom. Invested that money. Teachers on average had over a 10% increase in this past salary. I know this hiring season, have had conversations with our new teachers, over 400 new teachers at the new teacher breakfast that we had, just talking to folks who came from out of county, a 20-year veteran from a surrounding county that came and said, finally the pay was where I could come back to Knox County and be part of that. So we're getting a lot of those stories, a lot of people moving in, and then just a lot of young teachers that want to be here, believe in where we're going. So no doubt the salary helps. We saw an 8% for TAs and custodians, so a lot less gaps, which is going to make a big difference this year, because if you have a certified teacher in the classroom, that makes a huge difference for students.
Yeah, so those numbers are very different than what I saw. You don't have 160 vacancies then?
We don't.
Wow, okay.
We're getting daily kind of updates on where that is. And so I think Wednesday was when I got the number for 11 certified. And so we have, even in the center city, that's the 13 schools that are in there, the feeders for Austin, Ace, and Fulton, we're 95% staffed in all 13 of those schools.
Because Fulton had been struggling with some
they had a change in administration, so I think that was some of the delay in getting to the interview process, but they've knocked a lot of those out in recent days. So
there's been some talk about trying to recruit people who may not have a degree, but still would be able to be beneficial to the classroom. How would that work?
We're always open for that too. That's one reason why we launched that talent acquisition department, is to try to look for, don't leave any rocks unturned, right? And try to look at that. So right now, to get a license, you still have to at least be degreed. Or there are programs like through different universities and colleges where they're trying to pull people, maybe they're in a different major and they're coming into that kind of thing. So a lot more flexibility. We work very closely with UT Knoxville on some programs there to kind of pull people in and move them toward teaching and get them certified quickly. We've seen in the past there were trends to kind of go just 5-year masters to come in to be a teacher. We're seeing a lot of the colleges and universities really focus on that 4-year now to move you quicker in and work on a master's, once you have the job. Job embedded is another one too. And that's something we realize, if you have a degree but you're doing something different, we bring you in and get you certified, and that was, again, part of our process to go, if someone's leaving their insurance job, they probably have about 48 hours before they stay with us, so we need to make sure our processes were quick to receive and build a plan for that person to move forward. And
Might
we
be
were
a
able to-
future math teacher.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen some great ones for that really have that heart. I can think of a special ed teacher that I know that came to me and said, I was making good money when I graduated from college, and that job was like a medical billing job, and said it's really not fulfilled me, and went back and came as a special ed teacher for us now and loves the job. So I think we have a lot of those in the community that would probably think they want to contribute. I think in the past the barrier's been, go back to school for 2 years, earn another degree, and when you've got a family and it's hard to do. But now a lot of those barriers have been removed by the state board, and we can actually get you in quicker with a degree.
Speaking of teachers, I have to ask you, after the armed teacher law went into effect, have any teachers come forward and said, hey, I want to bring a gun into class?
I have not had anyone ask that question, and I think that's largely in part that security is not new to us. That's been an investment for many decades in Knox County. I got to attend our security graduation last Friday night and speak at that. We do that every year. Had 7 new officers added to our force that puts us at 120 plus. And we've had a commitment for many decades to really have an officer in every school. And I think our folks are very confident in that. I've said time and time again, that an armed, highly trained officer in every building is our best defense, because there is not one threat to the schools. And so you need someone who's trained to think through that, work with the administration. We have incredible partnerships with the Sheriff's Department and KPD as well. Chief Noel and Sheriff Spangler are always there. We plan together, train together. And so having that tight-knit, I think, really let the community understand. And we came out pretty early with that. We want our teachers worried about math and English. We want our security team worried about keeping the school safe. And we're fortunate to have both of those here.
Are you where you need to be with an officer in every school?
We are, and in some cases, multiple. If we have our SSOs, our school security officers, who are bonded by the Sheriff's Department and carry firearms and are highly trained in all those areas. We've done multiple active shooting drills this summer in partnership with school staff and also with the Sheriff's Department and the Knoxville Police Department, and so we're great on that end of that, and we do have that and have had that for many years.
It's got to be so chilling doing what you do when you see these incidents happen. Here at home and other places. Speak to that and just what goes through your mind when you see that happen.
Safety is our number one thing. It's obviously when families trust their students with us for multiple hours a day, and so we never stop thinking about that. One thing we've talked a lot this year is having a culture of continuous improvement. We're doing the right work. How do we continue to look at things? And that's true of Chief Perryard, who does a great job leading our division for us. Thinking about those, we're always pushing. He's always pushing us with what are latest trends. He briefs me on going into every school year. Here are things that we're seeing across the country. Here are things that we're technologies or equipments or trainings. He builds those out years in advance, working with our school culture department too, Janice Cook, to make sure that not only are we tactically ready, but we also know how that's going to work for staff and for students, and make sure that they're emotionally safe too as we're doing those kinds of things. That's important for us. So,
speaking of that. Cyberbullying, bullying, what's being done to address that? That is such a huge problem everywhere, not just here.
It is, and it's kind of that invisible enemy too, right? So it's not, it's a lot easier in the past to deal with issues when student A has a problem with student B, and we can bring them in and have that discussion. These are things that are 24/7, and so we've seen a great, uptick like the rest of the country in those things in probably the last 5 years. I'm going to go back to our partnerships. We work, on a daily basis with both the Sheriff's Department and KPD. We have units that are on 24/7 of our own as well. We work with the FBI. We work with Secret Service. We work with all of those groups that people kind of think, do they really? And last summer we did a whole tabletop exercise with all of them and continue thinking through those things. So, I don't know that there is a cure or an answer for that. I think it's really just dealing with those situations, trying to be proactive. We always ask people to, if they see something, say something, even if it seems small. And we take every one of those seriously. And lots of home visits after hours, lots of telephone calls, lots of meet us first thing in the morning with a parent and a kid. And we deal with that. So we're working on it really 24/7 and have people that are on that.
It's a big problem.
It is.
How big is it here?
I would say probably like it is everywhere else. I mean, you've got 60,000 students, and almost every one of them has a device, so and access to that.
You want them to leave the device at home or put it in a basket when they walk in the classroom?
I'm probably the guy who's right in the middle when it comes to that, because also, technology and teaching students to live in this world is important, and we don't want to create an artificial environment either, where, when you're here, this doesn't happen, but the other 16 hours of your day, you have access to that. So I think we try to look at technology as a tool, and how do we teach kids good digital citizenship? How do we teach kids, we teach them to be kind face-to-face, how do we teach them to do that online as well? And I think we do that with parents too, and asking them to check, and as they do with regular school work, and how was your day, they need to be asking those questions and asking that digitally as well. And so that partnership probably gets us there. But yeah, technology is also a good thing. So it can be a distraction. It can be, we talked about cyberbullying, but we need to find the right place in it. I don't think the answer is either extreme.
Speaking of technology, AI, how concerned are you that students would use that to plagiarize?
Yeah, it's another one of those new frontiers, and so this year we're required to adopt a policy by the state law to put in a policy around that. Just like anything else, initially it's probably going to be a lot of the words that are in the law as we try to figure out what it feels like and looks like day to day. I think that's another one where there's two extremes. So you have, we'll have some teachers who, and understandably so, are saying, "Did you write this paper, or did a computer write this paper for you?" And that's definitely, we need those skills to be tested, and we need kids to be able to do that. But the flip side is there are large corporations that are using AI to respond to emails and write things too. So we've always taken the approach that we want to make sure that we rightfully place it and how we do it. So I don't think, there's obviously probably not going to be a ban on any use of that. We did that. I look at it like cell phones. I was here when we did cell phone policy years ago, and all of a sudden kids started having all those. You're probably not going to police it out totally, but how do you teach correct use of it? And there'll be some learning lessons to that. We'll probably take 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, probably look at other districts. We'll probably look at how law changes over time. And so it'll probably be an experiment and innovative practice, I'd say, for the next 5 years. But we'll land at a place where it's beneficial to kids, I think.
I hope we have time. I have 2 more questions. One is on the vaping policy. I know vaping is huge. Everywhere you look, you see a teenager, a high school student, or even younger, vaping. I know there's a policy in place. It's been there for a while. How do you enforce that?
Yeah, it's like everything else. Yeah, the policy's there. How do you enforce it is the question. And so, we actually the vaping market years ago, and there have been class action lawsuits. Knox County was part of that too, to kind of say, I think there was a lot of intentional marketing towards students, and that was a bad behavior, or maybe even underage people. I know those companies have backed off a lot of that, but kind of damage done at that point. So we do have to deal with that a lot, and we continue to monitor that. We have restrooms are probably a big place where that happens in schools, and so every school's got its own process by which they'll have an adult outside the door, or they're doing those kinds of things. But again, that doesn't mean on their drive home they're not doing that. So I think it's another one of those partnering with parents, really educating students on the damages. We probably saw something similar with cigarettes 15, 20 years ago, and I think really where we saw the change in that was really just the marketing about the health issues with that and those kinds of things. So I don't know that without changing hearts and minds that you really get that change. They'll just find somewhere else to do it. So it's really important for us as a health risk that we get that done.
I recently spoke with the governor about his new push for the school voucher bill, which he's calling People's Choice now, educational freedom. And he said it will be largely unchanged when it comes back next year in the next legislative session. What is your thought on that? Why the push when no school district in our area wants it?
Yeah, I'll say this. I admire people who run for office, be it the governor, be it state legislature. I mean, the folks I know who are legislators really, on a personal basis, really want to do what's best for Tennessee, and they really try to listen to their constituents. So, again, the folks I have interaction with, I think I applaud what they try to do to try to take care of Tennessee and move it in the right direction.
But you don't like it.
Yeah, well, so my thing would be, in the end, I don't really have any control over it, right? Like, no one's asked my vote. I don't have a vote in that. I try to spend our energy on focusing on making Knox County Schools the best. I believe in what we do. I believe Knox County Schools is critical to our community. I believe us delivering in every pocket of every part of the community, be it rural, urban, or suburban, having great results for kids and great opportunities for all kids, that was what we're spending all of our time and energy for. And historically, Knox County has appreciated that, and majority of the kids do come to our public school system and thrive beyond our public school system and stay in Knox County and continue to make it thrive well. So I think if we're doing our job well, it may be a moot point in the end.
He said he's pretty confident it will pass. Would it take money away from what you're trying to do?
I mean, we've heard different things. I think people kind of who have time to focus on that, kind of on both sides, write different narratives for it. I know he said that it won't. Never known him not to tell the truth. I don't know the answer to that. We'll just continue, even on our local budget, we continue the budget that we have. I continue to challenge our team, let's maximize it for the results for kids that we want to get. And we're really proud in this last budget that we did that. There was no asking for additional. We took the money we had, and we're still able to do a $40 million raise for our folks out of that. And a lot of that was being smart with money, and it's not exciting, but we invested in debt 2 years ago to about $23 million to get that done, knowing we had this salary schedule coming up, which helped free it up. We also went through multiple rounds in the district office to find a 5% cut across the board to get to that money. Because, again, our teachers are the most important piece to any student having an education, and we wanted to invest in all of our staff. And a lot of people talked through that raise and said we could do it in phases, and we don't value one employee over the other. We're doing it across the board, and we did. And so that's the kind of things we'll continue to look at. How are we innovative with the budget we do have? Are we investing it in the right things that really align back to our 4 priorities? We had all exercise on that department by department of how are you spending dollars and show us that it's moving the needles in these areas we've identified. And we aligned our budget to that, and again, we're able to do some good things this year.
To wrap things up, your final message on what kind of year you want this to be, your goals, your dreams for kids.
Our work's not done on continuous improvement. Don't know that it ever is. We have had 2 really good kind of historic years of data back to back, and that means we're winning for kids, because that means they're going to be competitive across the board. We've seen like a 5.1% gain over 2 years in early literacy 3 through 8. Our 4th grade literacy is over 50% for the first time in proficiency in the history of Knox County Schools. We have a grad rate of about 93%, which is the highest it's been in Knox County. We've seen a 6.1 increase in 3rd to 8th grade math proficiency. So all of our barometers to say it's moving right for kids are going there. We're doing the right work, so the message is just engage in your local school, do what you can there. We're going to make sure what our teachers are doing, what our principals are doing, what our staff are doing are all aligned to do the best thing for your student.
Very good. And I guess one addendum, if you will, we look at the stress that our kids are going through, and it feels like it has never been so high. Maybe we talk about it more, but these kids have gone through a lot that others haven't, maybe in different ways, and maybe they're talking about it more, but anxiety, stress, depression, all those things. Let's talk about the school's role in seeing that and helping address it.
Yeah, it is real. I have my youngest graduated from high school last year, so I've had 2 daughters who both graduated from Knox County as well, and it's there. And so kind of our intentional answers, we did launch about, I think it was 5 years ago, a school culture department that kind of grew out of our special education department. And Janice Cook is our director for that, who does an amazing job. And we do everything in there to talking about like restorative practices for students through discipline to our social workers and our counselors all come out of that and continue to be trained in new trends that are there. You see it in things like our 865 academies, where we've taken big and tried to make it small, where every kind of hallway now has a principal and a counselor on it who knows that group of kids, and trying to make that kind of happen. That belongingness, that recognition. In those high schools now, everyone does an SLT or a small learning community. All those core subject areas come around, and every other week talk about performance, but also talk about what's happening in the lives of those kids. We launched whole child support teams at every school. That was the big thing that Janice Cook led. Last year they were launched. Every school had one. It was, again, a team of teachers, it's counselors, it's social workers, it's administrators, talking about a hot list of kids who maybe are showing different kinds of things, and then making sure they plug them into the right help. So a lot of intentionality around trying to make that happen, because if that's not there, students aren't going to learn. And our ultimate goal is to remove that obstacle so that they have a future.
Those 865 academies really get a lot of talk and a lot of support in the community. Parents talk about it. some saying, I know my child is probably not college material, maybe it's not for them. Talk about the no degree required kind of movement in trades that are gaining popularity.
We call it our 3 E's, right? So if our ultimate goal is to prepare the next generation, we talk about that in, we're fine if a student enrolls in post-secondary to get further training. That could be college, universities, or trade schools. We're good with any of that. That they enlist and serve our country, because there's lots of great careers on the other side of that and trainings they receive, or if they go to employment. But we do have a caveat to that. Employment is high wage, high demand job. So we don't want you taking an hourly job. We want you to build a career. And fortunately, there are a lot of those opportunities now through apprenticeship programs, through training on the job. And we try to do a lot in our 865 academies to add industry certifications to that, as well as advanced academics and IB and AP. Like, we think those belong hand in hand to prepare kids for their next step. So we've really reached out through 865 Academy. We have a CEO Champions Board that both mayors serve on, about 40 members of that, of CEOs, and really just looking for, provide those guest speaker opportunities, those field trip opportunities, those work-based learning experiences. And then we even do teacher externships, where on some days we send a whole staff to a place of business to kind of get the when will I ever need this. So local business has been hugely supportive of all of those things, and we continue to grow that. I think last year of our freshman academy, 99% of them had a touch, either through a guest speaker or a visit. So that was important for us.
All right. Well, good luck this year.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all you do. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks so much.